What's up, kids? We're letting everybody come in. Got some people waiting. We got the boys from All New Nerds. We got Jenny. We got a legendary cast and crew today. So we're going to let a couple more people come in, and then we're going to be going live. Jedi Jive Live number 3. Alright guys, you guys, are all the guests ready? Dudes and dudettes? Alright. What's up? Okay, I think we're live now.
Cool.
Can everybody hear?
Hello.
Can everybody in the chat hear us? Let us know. Let us know the audio is going well. I think there's about a 30-second lag, so it may take people a little. Yeah. Yeah, the lag is interesting. But anyway, we're just gonna go ahead and start talking. I haven't seen anybody respond yet.
Yeah. Let me do a little faster.
All right.
Ready to Wandavision it up. Hustle Mandalorian.
Hustle Mandalorian's in the house again this week.
Yeah, he's been here asking some good questions. All right, guys, what's up? Welcome back to Jedi Jive. This is the number 3 time we've gone live. 4, technically, if you count that one that we kind of botched the first time around. But, we just had to do some trial and error. Anyway, we got the boys from All New Nerds again. Jon and Dylan are here. And we've also got Jenny. What's up, everybody?
Not much at all, man.
Yeah.
Not much at all.
Just chilling.
Other than WandaVision, that's...
Yes. Okay,
so
WandaVision.
Literally all I can think about.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, so let's dive right in. This week was crazy. And I'm wanting to kind of just talk about the acting first, because I think the MCU in general has always been, there's lots of good special effects, there's lots of good characters, all this stuff, but this was definitely one of the examples of wow, they really spotlighted the acting in this episode and gave particularly Kathryn Hahn and Elizabeth Olsen a moment to shine and really show what they're capable of as actresses. So yeah, let me guys know, what did you guys think about that in general?
I thought it was great. I couldn't agree more. This is, a lot of people were like, every episode came out, they'd be like, oh, this one's my favorite. But this episode this week, this is my favorite one. It went deep into Wanda's backstory, and I couldn't agree more with the acting. Elizabeth Olsen especially killed it. Especially with that scene where she actually drives to Westview for the first time. We see how.
Oh yeah.
God, it was heartbreaking. Oh.
Yeah, that was a good scene.
Yeah.
We talked about this a bit in our reaction video this week, Mike. But one of the things that makes this such good TV, and also that makes the MCU in general so successful consistently, is that it has all the cool stuff. It has all the bells and whistles. But when they get it right, they really get it right. When those emotional scenes hit, they really hit.
Yeah.
I remember in the middle of Endgame, the first time I saw it, back in the theater, sitting there, and there was a certain scene where I just remember consciously having the thought, every single person in this scene, which was a large ensemble scene, every single person in this scene is an Oscar nominee. Half of them are Oscar winners.
Yeah.
And you think that's not what you would expect to see in the middle of a superhero movie, a comic book movie, but in the MCU, that's the way it goes.
For sure.
And that's true in this show as well.
Yeah. Dylan, how about you?
Well, yeah. I was just going to say, there's been that debate over are these movies cinema, or are they just roller coaster rides? I've seen that thrown around before, but no, I think this and some other performances really prove that these are real heartwarming, touching movies. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. Actually, I saw somebody mention in the comments that when Wanda pulls out the deed to the property, and you obviously that's such a sad moment, because you see that's what was Vision's vision for their future. That somebody noticed that heart is identical to the one that was on the calendar in the first couple episodes, or in the first episode, so that calendar might actually be a transmutated deed.
Oh man!
Or the deed transmuted.
God!
Because remember, Vision was
that.
He was oh, it's Mrs. or Mr. and Mrs. Hart. And she thought it was a heart for their anniversary, but it turns out it might have just been that deed.
Wow.
Which when you connect that back, it's all the more oh.
The attention to detail.
Shout out to
Dude.
whoever
Yeah.
found that. Like,
Oh,
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
know. I wouldn't have thought of that if I hadn't seen it in the
Congratulations,
comments.
but that obviously is the case. Like,
There's
that's
obviously
amazing.
some people are geniuses. Oh yeah, so let's get right into it. We open with the Salem witch stuff, which is great. Like, I don't know if the chat knows, but everybody here right now is from Massachusetts. So like that
It's like a 20-minute drive from us.
Close to
Yeah.
I feel like we
Yeah.
shouldn't
Go
be
there,
claiming
yeah.
this as a badge of honor, by the way. It's like
No,
one
I
of the
know.
most singularly shameful
Yeah.
episodes in American history. And
That's
we're all
actually-
like, yeah, Massachusetts.
That's actually the really interesting thing I thought was that, like, because this is such a historically famous thing where, women, not just witches, but like women in general were persecuted. Like, oh, you weigh more than a duck, you're a witch, burn her. Like, but this was a really they really played with us here because they made it so that the Salem witches themselves were persecuting the Salem witches. It was woman on woman persecution. They were. So that
This
was an
is
interesting
something
little
that didn't make our
reversal
cut.
there.
This is something we did discuss, and our video was like 900 hours long already. But I actually found Mike can tell you, like, I was sitting there being like, yeah, Marvel, yeah, Disney, because it's something that drives me crazy. We've seen it in shows before. Obviously, in actual history, at the actual Salem witch trials, like, witches aren't real. This is just as such, like, Wicca is a real religion, and there are certainly various forms of paganism, but like actual witches who are like evil and are gonna cast hexes on your children, it's not a thing. This was just like a way to persecute mostly women. And I've seen a couple shows where they're like witch-friendly shows, or it's shows about witches where they're like, yes, these are the Salem witches. And I hate that because it tends to legitimize the idea that like women should have been persecuted. It's like, well, if witches are real and if they actually do work for Satan, then what you're saying is it's like kind of okay that they got burned at the stake. And that always drives me nuts. And instead of doing that, like, here we have Salem witches who are actual witches, but they flipped the gender dynamic where like the witches weren't evil, only Agatha was evil, and the rest of the witches were trying to hold her accountable and trying to like be good. And it became like this all female dynamic, and then she got to be a badass. But I actually really appreciated that. That was like very thoughtful, the way they handled that gender dynamic.
All right, so let me pose one question. She referred to the lead witch as mother, but that could be her actual mother, or it could just she could be referring to her as like mother witch, like head
True.
witch. So do we think that was her actual mother that she laid waste to without even like zero remorse? She just killed all of her sisters and her mother, or was that just a coven of witches in general?
I thought it was at first. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But I mean, yeah, now that you think of it, I guess that could be like a head witch type deal. I don't know.
Yeah.
There was too much backstory on like the other witches besides Agatha. Obviously, it was a short little scene. But yeah, that's interesting though.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh yeah, misdirection with Vision's corpse. That was another one that jumped out at a lot of people.
Yeah.
Where it was like they really made everybody believe that she had reanimated the corpse, the dead robot, but then here we find out, wait, she never actually took the body. And then we actually see her materialize a new Vision out of nowhere, the Hex Vision. So what do you guys make of that misdirect? How do you think that why did Hayward need to lie like that? What was the what was going on?
Why
there?
does he need them to believe? Why does he need the
Right.
rest of
us
the
Yeah.
to believe?
He's clearly
Hayward is
trying to
sus.
he's clearly trying to like demonize her in a way, make people think that she is this evil terrorist, which is what he calls her. But we still don't know exactly why. I mean, we know, and we'll get to it later in the post credit, he uses Vision and he creates White Vision. And it just like his
Never thought it was gonna happen, but it happened.
Yeah, which is insane in
so
its
cool.
own thing. But yeah, like what does he want, Like what does he want from Wanda?
Yeah, I had thought that because at first it was, when he showed that security footage, it really seemed like it was her, he made it seem as though she was breaking in. But then when we see the actual memories she has, she does shatter the window and get a little crazy at first. But then he tells his guards to stand down and says, "Go ahead, let her look, let her do her thing." So to me, it almost seemed like he wanted her to go because maybe that he had no way of like reanimating the dead Vision, and he knew that Wanda had that ability, or he wanted to test if she had that ability. That's kind of the way I read that.
Fake news is what that is.
And well, he said that though, because in the White Vision post-credit scene, he says we've tried every kind of energy imaginable to reanimate this thing, and it looks like all we needed was a little bit of the source. And he was referring to the red magic still on the drone. So that could be why he wanted her to go. He let her in.
I see.
Because he was still trying to get him operating again.
He clearly has the idea that he could come back, because he says to Wanda, like, "What? You just want to bring him back to life?" But she also says, I can't do that. But maybe he knows something about her powers that she might not, or like the extent of what they are. Yeah.
Which
is also like the theme of the episode in general. Catherine Hahn being like, you don't know how powerful you are.
Yeah.
You're making breakfast for dinner with the most powerful stuff in the, you're just a baby witch. You don't even know the fundamentals, she said. When she was like, I trained for years just to learn how to this simple transmutation spell.
This is something I find so interesting, because she is a brand new kind of powered person within the MCU. So I actually really thought about this. I spent way too much mental energy on this, but I literally made a list in my mind. I was like, until now, we have seen 4 different kinds of superheroes specifically within the MCU. One is people whose powers are the result of some kind of scientific process, whether that's like deliberate, like experimentation, like Captain America, Bucky Barnes, Luke Cage, or whether it's an accident, like Spider-Man, Jessica Jones, Captain Marvel. But in all cases, they have power as a result of some molecular process. Something has happened to their bodies on a molecular level. So that's one. 2 is like people whose powers rely on tech. So like Tony Stark, Rhodey, Falcon, even Black Panther to a certain extent, like they ain't much without their suits. And then 3rd would be people who have not so much superpowers as super skills that they have acquired as the result of like lengthy training and practice and study. So you've got like Black Widow or Hawkeye or Doctor Strange.
Sure.
And even Agatha this week was like, it took me years of practice to do a simple transmutation.
Now we know that she's been around at least 300 years.
Right, and
so
it's taken her all that time to get this power. She has practiced that.
Does that signify the fact that she's immortal if she wants to be? Are her beings like her that are that powerful? Because clearly she hasn't aged since that scene we saw in the intro. She was the same age.
But like Dr.
Was she already
Strange,
300 years old, like vampire style?
But like Dr. Strange, she had to work and practice to like acquire that. And maybe it's an illusion. But like there's also the 4th option within the MCU, which we have Inhumans. We've seen them in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We've seen them in the show Inhumans.
Mutants.
They have like Inhuman DNA.
Not yet.
They have not yet. We haven't seen them yet.
Not yet.
So like with Inhumans, they have.
But if Wanda was born witch, wouldn't that make her a mutant?
This is what I'm saying.
She's getting there. She's getting there.
Inhumans have to go through this metamorphosis. It's called pterogenesis. It's a very specific process. And if they don't go through that, they might live their whole lives never knowing there's anything special about them. So I'm kind of, she's something new. We had this huge confirmation this week that she had powers already. There's that scene when the bomb doesn't go off and Agatha's like, oh, did you do a probability hex?
Yeah.
Wanda's like, no, it was a defective bomb. But I think the implication is that maybe she did do a probability hex without even knowing it.
Without knowing,
yeah.
And then
I mean, she does reach her hand
in the
out.
lab, Agatha said again, oh, your powers might have died on the vine if not for that Infinity Stone. So I think the idea is she was born with power and then the Infinity Stone
amplified
it to an insane godlike degree. And she has never been trained, so she's making breakfast for dinner. She doesn't know how to harness it. So I kind of wonder, is she like an extraordinary one-of-a-kind being, or is this the introduction of mutants into the MCU? Does she have an X gene?
Yeah.
One thing is, I thought I was crazy because I thought I was like, I thought Wanda and Pietro got their powers through the Hydra tests, but apparently it seems like at least Wanda had that power before.
I thought they did too, because didn't they volunteer? They volunteered to become what they are, right?
Yeah, because they were angry
and
about
they went
their
through
parents.
experimentation. And so they
a lot of people pointed out that during that scene with the Vision Stone that you see the Scarlet Witch silhouette.
That's my favorite scene.
So wait, there's one of the questions that brings up is when Agatha Harkness at the end is like, that makes you a Scarlet Witch. Are there other Scarlet Witches throughout history, or is she the only one? Or is it like, is that vision that she saw her from the future, or is that like a past Scarlet Witch?
It's
maybe a
myth,
multiverse
I think.
Scarlet
It's like
Witch?
the Yeti or Bigfoot. It's like this idea that there's a Scarlet Witch with chaos magic, but you know how Agatha was like, I thought that was a myth. So it's like if you actually encountered the Yeti or something, and she actually is this mythical creature that's been foretold or is legendary.
I thought she saw her future there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
makes the
she
most
like
sense.
I think at the
pretty
end
much
of
what
this
that
she's
was.
gonna, and Johnny's been saying this, where she's gonna get the suit
She's getting the
and
suit.
she's gonna
It's
really
look great.
become the Scarlet Witch.
So you think it'll be basically like identical to the Halloween costume, just a little classier?
Yeah,
It's
a little
gonna
less
be what we
goofy
saw in the
and, like, a
Mind
little-
Stone,
Yeah.
and she's gonna have the headdress on. It's gonna look
A lot more like tits and
know.
ass, basically.
No,
That's
if
that's
they really want to
America's
follow,
ass.
Maybe
if they-
not.
if they really
Yeah.
want to follow the comics.
No, I don't think it's basically what she saw in that in the mind gem mind
Yeah.
stone. That's pretty much what the costume's gonna look
All
like.
right, so like let's talk
Cannot
about this
wait.
rabbit for a second. The rabbit is clearly not a rabbit. It ate the bird. She threw the bird, and it was like nom 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 nom.
Yeah.
And
I
it
made a
talked to
joke
her,
about
maybe.
Banicula, but she did talk to it. I know she called it Senor Scratchy, and people were like, "Oh, that's her son, Nicholas Scratch." But we still haven't met Ralph. Also, the mailman turned into a pizza delivery man, so that kind of seemed like another. He seemed like he was important, and then it didn't go anywhere. Dottie seemed
Right.
like she was important, and that didn't go anywhere. So there seemed to be a lot of misdirections and red herrings where you don't necessarily get what you're expecting. But
Right.
clearly that rabbit she's transmuted a vampire into a rabbit or something or whatever that is. So who is the rabbit? Who is Ralph? What's going on?
Right.
Let me hear what
I'm
you think.
still
Dylan, let me know what you think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
Dylan.
I mean, I'm still holding out for that it's her son.
Yeah.
Just because I don't have any idea who else it could be. And Ralph, I've still wanted to be Mephisto, but they're kind of,
Yes.
and it still could
go.
happen. There's a lot that's gonna happen in this next episode. There's rumors that it's gonna be 2 hours long, the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll be
I don't
an
know
hour.
how true that is.
I think
An
it'll be
hour, yeah,
closer
me
to
too.
50 minutes. It'll say an hour, and then
Or they might actually
Right.
give us a surprise 10th episode. It would be so on brand
Yeah,
at
that'd
this
be
point.
that'd be cool. Yeah.
That could be.
But
really good.
yeah, I'm still holding out Ralph is Mephisto, but it just, considering he didn't really have anything to do with creating the hex, which was my like leading theory, is that he started this whole thing, which maybe he still could have. There's something there, but it really seems like it did start with Wanda, and she just kind of buried it, and she didn't remember really creating it. I don't know though. Other than her son and Ralph being Mephisto, I really have no other.
yeah, because the
no other
mailman did have that
theories.
rabbit on his hat. I guess it could just be them being like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we gotta love those
Thought that was
internet kids
something.
and their theories. Let's throw them a couple
Yeah.
bones and get them."
Make us some money.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
definitely sitting in their penthouse, like mocking us right
yeah, they're just
now.
laughing it all the way to
Yeah,
the bank.
Fine.
Hilarious.
All 23 people watching are just Marvel executives. Just
So actually, this is a question. What do you guys think if Carl Mondo will suck the life force of Agatha in the end? Who's Carl Mondo?
Let me see this.
I'll do.
I don't know who that is.
Mondo. Well, it doesn't come up when I look it up.
Mordo.
Carl Mondon.
Mordo, maybe?
I
Does he mean
think-
Mordo
I
from
think-
Doctor
yeah.
Strange?
I'm gonna say
Oh.
Mordo. I think you mean Mordo there.
That's the
Yeah.
character that Chiwetel Ejiofor played,
Right.
who sort
Gotcha.
of went dark.
Yep.
Oh,
with that
Carl
at the end of the
Mordo. Yeah,
movie.
Doctor
Yeah.
Carl
Strange.
Mordo. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Typo. That's all right though. That's okay.
Yeah, there was a couple of I mean, I'm going to go back to where I was talking about the acting and how this was like a slower paced, more dramatic episode than we've had so far. There were a couple of lines that really stick with you, and I've seen a lot of people mention the one where Vision, it's a beautiful line where he says, "What is love if not what is love if not what is grief if not love persevering?"
Right.
I thought that was one that was very that sticks with you.
I think that was my favorite scene of the whole episode. Actually, was just her and Vision.
Me
And
too,
it
Dylan.
kind of
me
plays
too.
in with his character, like in Ultron, when he's talking to Ultron, and he's like, I forget what he says, but he's like, life isn't, or it's not beautiful because it's forever, And
Yeah.
he kind of is the same thing, and it's cool because he's like the objective view, like he's Vision, and so it's just it's cool how they like threw that in.
Yeah. I thought you mentioned Ultron, and it had popped into my head. Are they going to get Spader to voice
I
White
thought he was
Vision?
gonna be in it. I thought he was gonna
That'd
be
be
in it too.
sweet.
Yeah,
I
do you think
really
they should
doubt
do that?
this, honestly.
Still
but
put
one
it. Do you think he
thing-
could still be in it?
If the rumors are true.
I kind of doubt that. I feel like that's
I think it would have been this
another
episode if
thing
anything.
to get us talking. But
Yeah.
I have to say, you know how we all read that interview with Bettany where he was like, "Oh, there's an actor I've always wanted to work with, and I think you'll agree our chemistry is great." He's definitely talking about himself, right? he's definitely talking about being able to work with himself because now he's two characters
you
and we're
think
going to have
so?
some
Ah.
Vision versus
that's actually a
Vision.
good theory. I
Vision
like
versus
that.
White Vision. Like, I really want to see that scene.
I like that because it
That
seems
is something
too
they would
perfect.
do.
But I also hate that because it means I'm going to be denied a character reveal that I've been waiting weeks for, which is, we can't rely
we do
on
it
that.
to ourselves though.
That's definitely what that's about, right?
Maybe you're right. Yeah.
Johnny,
Yes.
who can you give us some facts about White Vision? Like, I really don't know anything about him
it's
other
like,
than
it's basically he died in a I think it's Infinity Gauntlet. I'm probably wrong about that. But it's basically Vision just is kind of reformed. It's like reborn thing. He dies and then he's alive again. I don't really know too much about it, but besides that, I can take a look if you guys want to keep talking. I'll give you the bio on it.
Shame Bettany says something. Yeah, it's like if he pulls that on us.
That's them though.
That's something he would do.
He was directed to say that.
Yeah.
That's like on purpose. That's
well, it's like
protection.
the actress, I forget her name, that plays Monica. She
Fiona
also
Paris.
said like, yeah. She also said like, oh, when you find out who the astrophysicist is, like it's gonna be a big. Or someone said that, and then
engineer.
it's
The
like
red herrings
space engineer.
continue into like the press, the press briefings as much as they are in the show. This is all to get us going.
They know what they're doing. Look at what the Spider-Man cast just did to all of us with the 3 different at this point it's all just like building it all together.
A couple people have also pointed out the I can't feel you line, which is the callback to Endgame.
That was that hit.
And you're knowing because she had said when she's originally touching his head, she says like all I can feel is you. So yeah, that callback was definitely
that scene
heartbreaking.
The actual scene that we've now seen when she did go into the lab and she didn't, freak out and steal the body. It was actually a really sad scene. That was that there were so many layers in there for me. We've seen a lot of horror movie tropes, like a lot of cinematic and aesthetic choices that are taken straight out of horror movies in the show so far. And to me, this was one of them because one of the things about Vision is that he's not flesh, he's metal, he's wires, he's a synthetic body. And yet that scene was such intense body horror in a really specific sense. That was a body horror scene. And it was so hard to watch, like seeing wires pulled apart. That shouldn't be emotional, but that was like awful. And then that moment when she touches him, she had said something to Hayward about, he deserves a proper burial, he deserves a funeral, like all the things that we think of for people.
Right.
And when she went in and saw his body in those pieces and touched him and said, "You're not there," I was like, this is a particularly grotesque, sort of burlesque open casket funeral in a way.
Yeah.
She's looking at the body and realizing that the person isn't there. It was layered, it was deep, that was emotional, that was a really tough scene to watch.
Definitely, yeah.
I want to I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but Agatha Harkness is definitely she's associated with the color purple, and Thanos was also purple, and Baron Zemo is also purple. It seems like
purple going on.
It seems like purple is being associated with the bad guys so far in the MCU.
The Marvel logo at the beginning switches from red to purple.
That was cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah,
because I know there's a lot of other color play in there with Wanda using red energy and all that. Because someone else pointed out that she's everything we see come from Wanda is the red energy, but then when she creates Vision, it's definitely turns into yellow, orange. It starts looking more like the Vision Stone energy.
The Mind Stone.
Yeah.
Do you think she still has that power kind of in her because she unlocked her power from the stone, and it's something like that? I don't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
There's so much potential for where because they've made it seem like she's not only super powerful, but she's essentially like a god. So the extent of her powers we haven't even seen yet.
I think I found the whole White Vision thing.
Right.
So actually, it's pretty close to what we have in the show, which is kind of funny. So basically, he got killed, and the government took him over and dismantled him and everything. And the Avengers stole him back, and they shed off his colors, so that's why he has the white and everything. And basically, he was rebuilt by Ant-Man, but obviously, it's not going to be Ant-Man, who we know how he got rebuilt. But basically, yeah, it's just that he comes back to life and he's emotionless and like has lost all his like past memories like Vision has.
Okay, so in
man.
that point in the comics, though, there's no like Hex Vision and White Vision. It's just White Vision,
It's
right?
just White Vision. Yeah, there isn't
Yeah.
anything with the
So which makes me wonder: is White Vision the way for Vision to live on? Then, like, can we put
That's what
the
I
mind
was
of
thinking.
Hex
Like, can he
Vision?
put his
That's what
consciousness
happens
into White
later.
Vision's body
That's
and
what happens. Yeah.
That's
then
what
continue
happens
to
later.
exist outside the hex?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I
Right.
think, yeah, that's weird. So yeah, he's emotionless, doesn't know Wanda and all this stuff, and wow, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
pretty close. So yeah, I think, yeah, she's not gonna have any idea who Wanda. He's not gonna have any idea who Wanda is when they meet. But this is a way that Vision can live on, and if they somehow, if Wanda can restore the memories, maybe like she can do some magic thing with like all the memories she has of him, and then put it into that body, we can get normal Vision back. But I don't know.
Right.
I'm not sure.
Well, that's
The
the
show is supposed to have like a very heartbreaking ending, apparently. So I don't
Right.
know. I don't know if they'll
It's
do a
just-
cliffhanger on that.
I was thinking that when I first saw White Vision, and I was like, oh, maybe they're gonna bring Vision back. But a part of me like doesn't want them to, just because that's not like how it should be in real life. You know, like when you lose someone, you go through grief and all that, and like that's what we've been seeing in the show. And I feel like it wouldn't be fitting if he just came back. Like, I don't really know how to explain it, but like
Yeah,
it
no,
just
part of
wouldn't,
the-
it
part of
wouldn't
this
feel
episode
natural.
was-
It wouldn't feel right.
The acceptance of
Yeah.
like her loss.
Right.
I think that was
Exactly.
part of
Yeah.
the episode, so
Yeah.
I can agree with that. Yeah. I
But
think
another part
yeah.
of me is like, hell yeah, bring Vision. Like, I love this character. Bring him back. And like, it
Yeah,
would be really
Hustle
cool to see him
Mando
again.
calls him Vanilla Vision. I like that.
I know
Oh,
it was a
He
nice.
kind of looked like Silver Surfer to me.
Yeah, he did have a little bit of
I-
a Silver Surfer
Silver
I had
vibe.
Surfer.
that same thought. I was like, are they combining characters? But then the White
No,
Vision
no,
they
is a
wouldn't waste
character
Silver
from
Surfer
the
like
It's
that.
a
comics.
big thing in the
and
comics.
Yeah. I feel like it looked visually like possible. It was my first reaction, but I feel like that's
Mhm.
too big and too peach a character.
You'll know when
to
it's Silver
waste it.
Surfer.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, the potential for him. All right. Anyways, that's another conversation for another time. Yeah. So pretty cool. I think. I wonder if they're gonna leave that plot point open in Vision's case and being like, Wanda does have the ability to restore his memories, but somehow like the White Vision is like off on his own, similar to like Hulk in Age of Ultron or something like that. You know, he
Yeah.
like kind of runs away. I don't know. I'm just.
Are we anticipating that White Vision is clearly going to be an antagonist immediately, but that like he has the potential then to maybe even turn on Hayward, or Hayward might meet his end at the hands of White Vision? That would be good.
That's the idea.
That'd be pretty cool, yeah.
That
Yeah.
seems.
I also wondered if like, do you
Logical.
think that Wanda and Vision might have to team up with one of their antagonists to beat the other? I don't know whether that would be them teaming up with Agatha to beat Sword, or them teaming up with Sword to beat Agatha. I mean, it really depends what team Agatha decides to play for. But I think of the ending of The Rocketeer, a great movie from 30 years ago that everybody should see, where
movie.
like the mafia and the police had to team up to fight Nazis. And there's like an amazing scene, and like everybody hates Nazis. It's hilarious. I was like, could we have a Rocketeer moment where like one of these nemesis that Wanda is facing would have to join forces with her to fight the other bad guy? That would be really cool. I would
Well,
love to see that.
So
we have
wait,
Mephisto,
on that note, is
you know,
she referred to Pietro, she called him as fake
Yes.
Pietro, and then she mentioned that, I couldn't get your real brother because his body is in another country full of holes. That's even though she's controlling Pietro, we still don't have an answer as to whether or not that actually is Fox Pietro.
think
Right.
it's him.
Well, I think it is, because she says it's just my eyes and ears.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
because he
that's-
had super speed, right?
Right.
She could transmute the mailman to look like Pietro, but she couldn't give him super speed. So
Yeah.
Right.
it kind of has to be him, right?
I
Right.
think it's
right.
him.
I
So
think
Which
it's
is-
I
him.
think
I
that
think it is, too.
along the lines of like the like antagonist protagonist, he could be, he says Snooper's gonna snoop. It looks like he's playing on Agatha's side because she's controlling him. But the second she's not controlling him, he's got nothing to do but be who he is. He's Wanda's
Right.
brother. He's
He's gonna be like,
actually
where the hell am
Quicksilver.
I?
Well, we
Yeah.
didn't see anything after that, so we don't really know how he fully reacted.
So I still anticipate
That's
him
still
being
to
a
come.
good guy.
Right.
But I mean, I
Yeah.
see people being like, "Oh, it's just some rando from Westview," and I'm like, "Well, then why would he look like a character that we know and have the
Yeah.
characteristics and person?" That makes no
Right.
sense to
Speed
me.
thing too.
The speed thing.
speed thing.
So,
Yeah,
like,
that's
it's
the
still a
biggest.
question of how did
Yeah.
he get here. I don't think Agatha can control the Nexus.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
she's that powerful.
I
She had
think-
But also,
twins.
I don't
It's safe
think
to say-
Agatha is
kinda safe to
powerful
say.
enough to like. We have there's Darcy, there's Vision, there's Wanda, there's Monica. Like, is it really like it can't be all those people versus Agatha? So, I'm readying myself for Wanda to actually be like the big thing that everybody has to fight against in the final
Yeah.
episode.
Hmm.
So, like, you may see Agatha teaming up with Monica to fight Wanda because she's destroying everything, or
just
you know.
that there are
I-
multiple conflicts going on sort of in multiple parts of Westview at the same time. It might be like Wanda
Yeah.
versus Sword and Vision versus Vision and everybody else versus Agatha. I mean, there could be like 3 things concurrently happening.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be the Maximoff fam, so Vision, Wanda, and the kids, and Monica, and then Sword's gonna breach in. So I think I don't know, they'll all split off, and then so there's some people, Agatha, like you said, some with Sword, but no, I think it's gonna be the family and Monica versus everybody.
Yeah, and Sword will have White Vision, and so it's
Sword
gonna
will
be
have
like
White Vision. So
versus
Vision
White
v
Vision.
yeah, Vision v Vision.
Broseph says,
Agatha
"I
and
hope
Wanda.
I hope Wonder Man is introduced. This would be groundbreaking." And we had actually
I
said in
would love
last week's
that.
stream that it looked like Darcy's, when she
Darcy's
passed through the
suit-
bubble, looked like she could have become Wonder Woman.
I don't know. I mean, they were the same
Wonder Woman.
colors as
Yeah.
Wonder Man. She looked like Sergeant Pepper. I don't know if that's a thing. Like,
Yeah,
Her suit-
I'm still
I
kind of
don't know.
holding out hope
Who
that Darcy
knows,
gets some kind
but
of super strength boost from that.
Yeah.
Why
That'd
not?
be funny. Yeah, she's supposed to be in Thor.
Yeah,
Thor: Love
she's
and Thunder,
cast in
so
Thor.
she's
She
apparently
better
done
be.
filming. So I don't know. I mean, maybe if she has powers, that'd be kind of crazy. But I don't know her suit.
I
don't
mean,
know,
because
it just,
she's
like,
been in the
looks so
MCU
similar.
like just as long as most of these other. She's been around for
yeah,
like 12
since
years
phase
now,
one.
right?
Yeah.
Since
since
phase
So
one.
it's like-
since
yeah.
phase 1.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so
Been
she's
here.
been around this whole time. It's about time she got
Yeah.
some superpowers.
That's right.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
not?
Shout
All
out
right.
to Broseph Phoenix, by the way, for subbing to All New Nerds. We really appreciate
There
that.
you go.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
yeah, guys.
everybody.
By the way, if you haven't been over to All New Nerds, definitely go over, check out their channel, and subscribe.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, some people have pointed out that the Darkhold, the Necronomicon looking book
Mhm.
in Agnes's basement.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody pointed out that there's in the library in Doctor Strange. There's one missing book
Right.
in that
Yeah.
scene that they don't explain, and that
Mhm.
that book looks suspiciously similar to some of those Doctor Strange books. Like it
Hmm.
glows and it
I would
has-
agree.
Yeah. So is it
Yeah.
possible that like that Darkhold or that the equivalent that's like has like chaos magic or in it or whatever, and that's something that Doctor Strange hasn't learned about because he doesn't have that book. And that
that's where I
like
think
that's
Strange
going to be
comes
the
in.
thing that like Doctor Strange knows everything except that, and Wanda will be his biggest foe because of that, potentially.
Uh,
No, you're not feeling it.
I don't think are you saying Wanda's gonna face Doctor Strange?
Yeah, why not? I mean, if she's going to be like an antagonist with, not necessarily a bad person, but somebody like I had pointed out to Jenny that if Wanda's motives lie entirely in saving her children's lives or like keeping her children's souls alive, that like whether or not other people get harmed in the process might become irrelevant to her, especially if she's like, in some crazy witch mode, depending on what Agatha does to her next. Like, if it comes between saving her children's lives and like letting Darcy die, for instance, like it's no contest. Like she's, but that doesn't make her a bad person. It just makes her a mother,
Right.
So
yeah, and I mean Agatha might be like, "Hey, use your power for this, so your kids get it," So
Yeah.
she might be pulling some strings there.
Hmm.
I mean, how does it happen in the comics? The children are they die, right? Their souls are resurrected somehow. And
Yeah, they're like the souls of Mephisto,
Right.
or she like steals the souls from Mephisto or something and creates her own children. And the idea is that he wants them back.
yeah.
Actually, speaking of that, do we? Okay,
Oh,
so
Strange is searching for his missing book. Yeah, that could be how he comes in.
yeah,
like, hey,
I
I'm
think
looking,
that's
Where's
I think
my
that's
book?
exactly what's gonna happen. To be honest. Also, so the kids, do we have an answer of how they're a thing?
Like
I know
how they're created.
how they're yeah.
Oh, I think
Well, we
they're
know that Wanda
fully,
has
like,
spontaneous
her
creation
kid.
abilities now.
Yeah,
we do.
she created something out of nothing. I mean, she defies the
Right.
laws of physics.
Mhm.
She created new matter. And instead of stealing a body, that's actually like a body she made. And I think like they actually procreated. And obviously it's this weird accelerated process because she controls the rules in the hex. But my impression is that they're her kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know in the comics a reason why the kids are Mephisto's soul is because Vision can't procreate.
Yeah. That's
But
my thing.
Maybe they're bending that a little bit.
Yeah,
I
the
don't know.
only reference she made to like where she said like, "Hey, Vision's their father, like he's made of vibranium. They were born with tough skin." So
Right.
obviously like there's no genetic component to Vision or any of that, but it's definitely one of those like she made them in his likeness or in his the magic equivalent of what would be, natural childbirth or whatever. She gave them,
also it's Wanda's world, so she can make anything happen.
Right.
So
yeah.
Either way, regardless of fatherhood, like it seems they're her kids, like they're physically her children.
Yeah.
Yeah, Agnes did point out, like, when she was chastising Wanda for not even knowing the fundamentals, she was like, "Oh, these runes, this is like kindergarten witch stuff. Like, this is like fun.
Yeah.
Like, only the witch who cast the runes can cast her magic in the room or whatever." So Wanda isn't like all powerful if even a basic, because it's funny actually, this connects to Doctor Strange too. I remember when Doctor Strange referred to the amulet that holds the time stone, he's like, it's an extremely simple like security charm or whatever, but it's remarkably effective. So that's one of those similar themes where she's like, yeah, this is just like my runes are cast and all of a sudden this all-powerful Scarlet Witch can't do anything. So even basic witchery can outwitch a witch,
You know how we talked, Mike, this week about how there are multiple different ways to be bad. Like you could be inherently bad, as it seems that Agatha is, or you could be working through some stuff and, good people can do bad things under extreme circumstances. There was a real theme, and I think part of that is the importance of mentorship and, like, I don't know, for lack of a better term, positive role models. Right. There was a real theme this week. We had this little damsel in distress bit that Agatha did when she was literally on the stake. Where she was like, I didn't mean to. My powers made me do it. Like, the devil made me do it. I didn't believe her for 1 second. I mean, I think Catherine Hahn was specifically doing this like over the top, insincere performance. I think she knew exactly what she was doing. I think she did mean to do it. But the point is, it was a theme where she was like, you never taught me. Please teach me to control my powers. And then, of course, like she sort of throws the same accusation at Wanda when she says the whole like, the stuff that you're talking about, the breakfast for dinner, that you don't know the fundamentals of magic. And so there's this real theme about like the great power, great responsibility thing, like the ultimate message of like Marvel comics. With great power comes great responsibility. You have to learn to use the power that is granted to you in a responsible way, in a constructive way. And Wanda's just out here like out of control at the minute. And it seems like that's like a real ongoing theme, is that you need guidance and you need instruction and you need sort of positive role models in your life to use your magic in a good way. I don't know.
Well, that's funny you say that, because I mean, Agatha somewhat in the comics does act as a mentor to Wanda a little bit. So, I mean, I think we already kind of have seen this in that episode to an extent. Obviously, she has like, I would say, somewhat selfish intentions or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I wonder where Agatha's going to lean, because once Sword breaks in, which I assume it will, and White Vision and all that stuff comes along, it's going to be interesting who's
because she was on the wall. She didn't have an ID. Like, we know that Sword obviously knows she exists from the broadcast, but they don't have any, like, she doesn't mean anything to them in terms of her real identity. So that's an interesting situation right there to begin with.
Yeah. It's...
And is this her opportunity? Is it like her opportunity to be on the right side of history? Is like this her opportunity Agatha's opportunity to be a good witch by like defeating Hayward, or is this?
No, I doubt it.
Maybe not. Maybe she. I mean, I like Catherine Hahn as a
she was
witch.
choking children, so I don't know if.
How redeemable are people? At what point is there no coming back? It's a question that they're posing for us.
Hey, the show. Yeah, I mean the show. Like even last episode, we were under the impression that Wanda stormed into this building unannounced and just
Yeah.
took Vision's body and was reanimating a corpse. But we find out that no, she isn't evil like that. She's not a bad person. She
Right.
just like her emotions are overflowing. So like
'Cause-
they are kind of playing with like who's good, who's bad, and like different points of views, I guess.
Do we think Agatha is gonna make it past the final episode and be in more stories after this, or do we think
Part
she
of the
meets
big
her
bad.
end?
Well, okay, we all got to keep in mind that this is going to lead straight into Doctor Strange too. So, is
Right.
there room for Agatha? I mean, we still got the book thing, which I think could be an easy tie to Doctor Strange, and if she
Yeah.
runs away with it,
And
you
how
know,
much of that can they
that-
honestly wrap up in one episode, especially
Yeah.
if it's not like a 2-hour episode?
I know
Right.
It seems like there really
It
is
just
so much
seems there's
that they
so
got
much
to-
for next week. It's got to be a long one, or I mean, there was a 10th episode rumor, but I don't know if that's too much. I don't know if that's like too possible, but yeah, it's I think there's a chance, but I wonder if it's gonna be like a Wizard of Oz type situation where she just melts at the end of the show. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Surrender,
Yeah.
Dorothy.
Yeah, I don't know if they're ready to get rid of her yet, just because like we've only really seen her personality as Agatha like in this episode,
Yeah,
and then
they
maybe
just
the next.
introduced her.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel
It'd
like
be
they've
kind
been
of a
building
quick
her up for a while, and it would be weird for her to just die. Or
Yeah.
like, I mean, she might be defeated, but I don't know if that's the end of her. But
Yeah, especially since they like to show multiple sides to characters once they introduce them. If they don't make them flat. So like we've seen her like fake sitcom, nosy neighbor, but that was all just that wasn't
her.
Act.
Yeah.
So
Right.
does she have an arc from clear bad guy to like Jenny said, as she get, or whoever said that she might have a reason to redeem herself in some way at some point.
But then does she, I mean, that there's so much room. Again, these are complex characters. Marvel creates 3-dimensional complex characters. Could she be like an ally of convenience, help them defeat Hayward, Sword, whoever, and then turn around and be wicked in some future thing? Ha ha ha, I'm still a wicked witch. I mean,
Loki,
there's
some Loki.
Yeah,
exactly.
Loki
Loki's a
has-
perfect example. Sometimes he fights in their battles, but he's never really on their side. He's on his own side.
Which is
Um,
funny though, because we're talking about whether or not Agnes is going to be a character moving forward. Wouldn't you love to see all of those magic characters in the same scene fighting, like Agnes, Wanda, Doctor Strange, Loki, getting all of those characters doing something like that?
her and Loki
In
would
one-
make a good pairing, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
like,
fun. Yeah. I mean, I
Yes.
wonder if Loki's ever gonna reach, if he's ever gonna come back to like the regular MCU timeline going forward, because we know.
Right.
he's-
What's the deal with that?
Yeah.
Because he was dead before the snap happened. And
Right.
his show's coming, and I don't know what the timeline of his show is at all. Do we
he-
know anything about this?
I think he's in a place where time doesn't really exist.
Yeah, but also the whole time travel thing really makes it like kind of like a simple. You can just make any situation the way you want it to be. Oh,
Right.
because time travel, like it's kind of hard to like make it fit with reality. But
Frenemies,
he did go
yes.
into the
Yes.
like when Hulk is having that conversation with the Sorcerer Supreme. She kind of mentions like, no, like
Yeah.
I don't remember what it is, but it has to do with like, even Hulk says it actually, even though you're going into the past, that's still your future, because
Mhm.
you're going into the past temporarily, but that's still ahead of you, because it's so.
because in your timeline, you're doing
Yeah.
And Loki basically, I think, created
So
a
Loki
branch
could have just
reality.
not be dead because he went
Or
into the
branch timeline.
Tesseract and created a different future for himself.
Right.
And
Right.
Yeah.
obviously, like time travel, multiverse, all this stuff. Jenny says that you don't want it to be a cop out where anytime something just doesn't make sense, you can be like, oh well, multiverse.
Yeah, I'd be so
Mm.
pissed if it were just that simple, but I don't think it will be.
I don't
trust
think-
them to.
They got a whole
Yeah.
show about it. I don't see
Yeah.
that being that simple.
Yeah.
So we'll
Yeah.
find out. Yeah, that's supposed to. It got moved, but it's supposed to be June 11th now. It's gonna be the first episode. So
Okay.
that came out this week, which is pretty cool. Trying to think about anything about WandaVision else.
Yeah,
One
what-
thing that
what
I
do we think
found
about the
really, this
sitcom?
is like a lighthearted thing, but one thing they did was they continually sort of poked fun at their own format in a very meta
yeah.
sense this week. Like Agatha was like, oh, the costumes, the hairstyles, or the whole thing about your accent really comes and goes, doesn't it? Which is a thing that has been leveled at Elizabeth Olsen.
Where are the children?
Since the first time she appeared. Like, what's up with the accent? And you know, it's been mentioned multiple times in the show, but they really went for it this week and kind of like poked fun at all the things that people have had issues with or whatever.
I liked the explanation for, I mean, there's still more to be answered about it, but like why it's a sitcom, or like that's just like why she chose to put her.
Yeah, that was cool.
New life
but not only
sitcom.
like the specific sitcoms were the ones that she watched, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
As a kid and throughout her life.
That's happy, but they showed how it's also like the night the bomb dropped, she was literally watching Dick Van Dyke. So
I had said something like several episodes back, way back, sort of at the beginning, about how I had assumed since the get-go that like a sitcom was her only reference point for a normal life. And I don't think I was too far off, but they did sort of a very dark version of that where they were having TV night the night that all of this began, the night the bomb went off. And so it's actually kind of like the font, the source of her trauma and fuck-upedness. And what we did see throughout the little flashbacks, throughout the little memories that Agatha led her through, is that sort of at every stage she was watching an American sitcom. And they were specific, like when she was in Von Strucker's lab, she was watching The Brady Bunch. At some point she was watching Malcolm in the Middle. They were sitcoms that we've seen referenced. And so it seems though, even though that is something that is associated with a really horrible moment in her life, it's also been her constant. It's been like the one thing that she's held on to. So it's sort of like a piece of her identity at this point. Is this her happy place? This is her escapist thing she does when everything seems terrible, as she watches sitcoms on TV. So when she was literally building her dream house for her and Vision to grow old in, as he suggested, she created her happy place.
Did you notice when she materialized the house, like on the foundation, when she went full Scarlet Witch there, that like the blocks came together in the exact way that the cover of House of M, the picture of House of M, has like blocks coming together?
Yeah.
Anyway, it was it reminded me of that.
I didn't notice that. That's cool.
Yeah, look up the cover for House of M. It was exactly like that.
I know you're talking about. Yeah, I didn't notice that when I was watching it, but that makes sense. Yeah.
Gabriel Raven said visual comfort food. That's exactly what she's doing. She's like giving herself aesthetic visual comfort food. We noticed in the TV night Sokovia scene, when they were watching the Dick Van Dyke show, there were so many like shot for shot things that happened. I hadn't noticed this. I mean, I've seen the Dick Van Dyke show before, but whatever episode they were showing, there were things that were like shot for shot recreated in episode 1.
Right.
The
like bedroom scene.
Eerily specific. Very specific things that we saw happen. So it's like literally what that is. She's self-soothing with magic.
Do you think it's just a coincidence that it was able to be broadcasted like to a frequency and then they were able to pick it up? Or do you think that was like she meant to do that?
No, because remember Darcy had to come in to even figure out how that was even, because Sword had no... Like Hayward was like, "How are you getting
that?" This is a weird acosmic specialty.
Where Darcy first shows up, she figures it out.
Yeah, she's the one that figures it out. But
let me tell you guys some cosmology, some actual astrophysics.
Go for it.
I only know this because like I literally wrote a play about this. But you know, they said it was cosmic microwave background radiation, which is relic radiation from the Big Bang. It's basically an echo of the Big Bang that we can still detect in the universe, and it is in reality it is dissipating outwards to the point where it will no longer be detectable. And right now there are all kinds of physicists. They're in places like Antarctica and places where you're able to get really clear, unadulterated views through telescope technology, where they're trying to really understand the origins of our universe by looking at this cosmic microwave background radiation. And it is in fact true. If you've ever had, you remember Darcy asked for like an old school TV, not a flat screen. She was like, I want a vintage TV.
Yeah.
So if you've ever looked at television on an old school TV where you actually have to tune the dial to the right channel, if you tune the dial between channels, all you see is static, all you see is snow. And it is in fact true that about 1% of that static is cosmic microwave background radiation. So this is actually like somebody did their research here. Like it's true that if you looked at an old school TV, you detect cosmic microwave back. Like you and I could do that in our homes right now with an old TV. So that was like a very specific, they could have name checked any other kind of energy, like kinetic energy or nuclear energy.
Jenny, that's most significant because it basically shows that Wanda's power is like from the beginning of the universe itself, like the Infinity Stones themselves, right? They explain how the Infinity Stones were like the moment of creation or whatever, and Wanda's power shares that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
So she's a nexus being because her power is like. I appreciated
that because I'm such a physics nerd, and I was like, they really were very specific about this. They did the research. That is in fact an energy signature that you can detect on old school TVs. And in this case, Darcy said it's like an outrageous amount of CMBR. Like this is, you and I would only see 1% of our static represented by that signature, but she's manifesting an entire show in that energy signature. So it's very good science, actually.
Cool.
All right. So is there anything else WandaVision we want to talk about?
Ooh, I'm sure
Before
there
we
is.
talk about some
we're gonna hang up.
I mean, like,
should have said that.
Do you think there's room for I mean, I guess we still got the Ralph thing, but do you think they're gonna touch that? Do you think that's just gonna be sidelined?
Yeah, I mean, we said like they've done so many red herrings. Like, can they really talk about Ralph and Dottie and all these other things that are just sort of seem like they haven't been answered, and Quicksilver, and there's so many.
There's so
different
many
threads to connect.
The thing
right
I
now.
know is I think
Monica,
he's gonna be in this
Quicksilver.
episode. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's gonna be.
Who's gonna be in this
Ralph
episode?
thing.
Oh, Ralph.
I'm saying Pietro and Monica. That'll definitely.
Yeah, that'll be a thing. I just feel like there's so much.
That's a significant plot line, but there's so many little questions that I would love answered that might have just been red herrings, and I got all excited, and then we'll have to who was Wu's witness protection person? It seems like that was introduced right in the
Grim Reaper
beginning.
helmet. What was with that?
Yeah, exactly. There's all these little things that might have been just dropped in there to drive us crazy forever. And
I feel like it has to lead into the movie. Like, I feel like there's just so many questions that, like, unless there are 2 episodes or this episode is like 8 hours long, like, I think they're just gonna have to leave some of it for Multiverse of Madness.
There was some comment that it was like 6 hours of runtime, and the question is whether or not they're including the credits in that runtime, because if they do, I think it's like there's 1 hour left, and if you eliminate the credits, there's closer to 2 hours left.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I saw somebody had pointed out that Doctor Strange could end up using the mirror dimension to deal with Wanda. Because they kind of explain in Doctor Strange how the mirror dimension is where they go so that you don't affect things in the real world. You don't harm people. You can go there to like practice your magic or whatever, right?
Could he potentially be a mentor to Wanda? Because she's in that film. Elizabeth Olsen's in the film, and we know Mordo is going to be like a bad guy in that film because Chiwa is in that film as well. So we know he's going to have to like deal with Baron Mordo. But could he be like the mentor who teaches her to use her powers effectively?
I would love that.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. Yeah. I mean, if we're done, I can transition into something else about Strange. But are we?
Yeah, I think we can go ahead and move ahead because we got about 10-15 minutes before we want to wrap it up.
So we all know about the Spider-Man announcement. We got a new title, Spider-Man No Way Home. And there were 3 pictures that were attached to the prank titles that they sent
I liked
out.
Phone Home. I kind of liked that one.
I did too. Yeah. I thought those. Yeah.
I think like somebody else, Spielberg might own that phrase.
Yeah.
Right. yeah. That's true. But
I was a Home Slice fan personally. But...
Home Wrecker. What was the other one? Yeah, Home Slice.
Yeah, Home Wrecker.
Yeah.
Slice. Which is from Juno. I don't know if it's getting to be a fairly old movie at this point, but that was like a really funny line in the film.
I didn't know that was the reference. I mean, I have seen Juno before, but
it was something that Rainn Wilson said in Juno. He called her Home Slice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But there's 3 pictures of MJ, Peter, and Ned. Ned's looking good though. First off, also, I think I'm like, I don't know what percent, but I'm pretty positive that they're in the Sanctum Sanctorum in that little shadow. I think it was on Peter's body. There was a shadow in one of the pictures. It's Strange's little silhouette. So
okay.
There were also a lot of hexagons on that whiteboard.
Yep.
Do you guys see that? There were like many
Yeah.
hexagons along with
Well,
spider webs.
There are also like Home Worlds was a big one, like with all the
Mm.
little names that they could have chosen.
Yeah,
Or, like,
yeah,
the
yeah. The
ideas.
whiteboard. Yeah, the whiteboard. No, I was talking about there was 3 promo pictures for, like, it looks like there's just shots from the movie, but yeah, and the whiteboard was interesting too.
Whiteboard's got a lot of stuff on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they had a lot of titles that everybody was theorizing about. I think they made little like comments on each of them, which was pretty funny. But yeah, I think so. The whole thing with Strange, I'm gonna say he's in the movie, and I think the idea is, at least this happens in the comics. So at one point, Peter's identity gets revealed, and obviously has to go into hiding and everything, and he's wanted, which is what we set up in what was set up in Far From Home. And then Strange uses, I can't remember the spell, but basically it kind of erases everybody's memory of that secret of Peter being Spider-Man. So I don't know if that's gonna happen exactly, but I cannot wait to see more Strange.
But there are some consequences that come with it, right? Like,
yeah,
some people forget that he even exists, or
right.
like everyone does.
Yeah, there was some other stuff, but I wonder how much into that they're going to go. But I know we can't pull up the pictures, but I hope everybody knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they're in the Sanctum Sanctorum, and that's where Peter's gonna hide out, and Strange is gonna try to help him out, which is gonna be pretty cool.
Remind me, wasn't there also kind of like one of like the main themes of Far From Home was Peter wrestling with the people's expectations of him following in Tony's footsteps?
Yeah.
And kind of, but he's just like, I'm just a kid, basically. Like, how can he, be the leader of all this? So how much is that storyline going to come into play too? Because Doctor Strange is obviously the other one that's like, he's the potential leader of the good guys now that Tony is dead.
Yeah, there was a real sort of Jacob wrestling with the angel story for Peter in Far From Home. Like, he didn't want it. He just wanted to go on a school trip. He just wanted to be a normal kid. And just as in the biblical story, Jacob wrestling with the angel, like, he actually has to accept the power that has been granted to him in the end. And he does, like, at the end of that film, really seem to adopt it. And he's having fun with it even. He's taking his girlfriend swinging through the buildings of Manhattan, and then, like, all of a sudden, shit hits the fan, and J. Jonah Jameson turns up, of course. But I feel like he did kind of accept his path at the end. He went on the plane and he designed his own souped up suit, and he really seemed to embrace that by the end of the film.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
I think, I think they're not gonna do the Tony Stark thing anymore. I think that's kind of been done. We know there's a lot. I mean, Homecoming, the whole thing for a lot of Ultra's motivation was due to Tony Stark, and obviously he was in that movie too, and Peter's relationship with him was a big part of that movie. And then
I would definitely count on the occasional like Tony Stark hologram like video, Robert Downey Jr.
reference for sure, but not. Yeah. I don't know if it's
not necessarily appearance. I mean, also at the end of Far From Home, there was a banging noise. Like, you had to watch all the way through the final credits, and there was a banging noise, and it was confirmed by Kevin Feige or by Marvel at the time. People had thought that was like Thor's hammer, but it's not. It was Tony Stark building the 1.0 suit in the cave in the desert from like the very.
Wait, wasn't that at the end of the Endgame credits?
Yeah, that was Endgame or Far From Home.
That was Endgame.
Maybe it was at the. I can't. You know what? I've lost track. It was at the end of.
It was Endgame. Because that's where it all started. That's where Phase 1 started.
Yeah, it was a reference to where it all started. But that is, I mean, it was like a beautiful tribute because the character's now dead, but also like it's a way of wrapping up that storyline definitively. Like, it literally came full circle. The whole MCU came full circle back to its starting point. And now, like, I'm with John. I feel like reference, like, well, we drop his name for sure. He's still a famous historical figure in this world, but like, I feel like Robert Downey Jr. is probably done.
Not going to be I mean, he's not like references to Tony, like obviously in Far From Home, that was a big thing with like, should he follow in Tony's footsteps? I think that's kind of just going to be done. Or at least I hope it is. I don't think there's going to be any villain motivation due to Tony Stark. I really liked that in Homecoming. Then I was like, oh, a little iffy on it in Far From Home. I think they're done with that. So that's yeah.
Well, it is kind of like obviously there's going to be new Avengers, right? We know that's going to be
Mhm.
something in the future. But
way down the
obviously,
road, but yeah.
Black Widow is dead. Captain America is retired. Thor lives on another planet.
He's out of the. He's far
Yeah.
away.
The Doctor Strange is like mystical and in other dimensions and whatnot. It seems like really, like Peter Parker really is the only like
He's the up and comer.
Earthling.
Well, we
Yeah,
got
he's
Wiccan
next
and
gen.
Speed. We got
yeah,
from
that's what I'm
WandaVision.
like.
Wiccan and
Eventually,
Speed,
new
yeah.
Avengers, and
We
I
got
think
some-
Monica Rambeau is going to be
Yeah.
one of the
She's gonna be
head
pretty
one of the
prominent, I think.
leaders of that pack.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, because
Kate
she's
Bishop-
obviously got
Kate
the
Bishop and Hawkeye.
yeah.
Haley Steinfeld. That's gonna be.
Mhm.
Oh, cannot wait for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet.
They're definitely forming a team. Yeah, I wonder. I don't think they're gonna go into too much about that. Maybe they will. Maybe towards the end, but a
And we
couple
have-
things about this.
I was going to say
go ahead.
Falcon and Winter Soldier is next, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Coming
the
right
next
up.
series. Yep.
Yeah. So,
very
how-
soon,
to what
actually.
degree do we think that's going to have like lots of connections and tie-ins and threads to what we're currently seeing in WandaVision, or do we think it's going to be more of a standalone situation?
Well, I don't know exactly where it takes place. I don't know if it's before.
Oh, in
Yeah.
terms of the
WandaVision.
timeline, yeah.
Before
Yeah,
WandaVision.
my
after
like all I've
WandaVision.
seen from like the trailer, it just makes it look like basically a buddy cop show. Like
Yeah.
buddy cops who
Yeah.
kind of hate each other, like frenemies. But I don't think we know much about its sort of place in the universe
Yeah.
beyond
I don't think
that.
anything
like
yet.
how it could be a standalone. Feige gave a really great interview this week. I don't know if you guys saw this in the Hollywood Reporter. In THR, Feige gave a fantastic interview because it wasn't just a bunch of like hints and red herrings. He actually committed to some real information. He said, this is one and done, WandaVision. Like this is a one series show, but he said there were other shows where he's completely within the phase 4 announced shows.
Right.
He said there's some where he's open to the possibility of future seasons.
Oh,
He also spoke about the Netflix characters. It was funny because he specifically name checked Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage. I have to imagine it is not
Perfect.
an accident that he did not include
Perfect.
Iron Fist in that list.
Oh,
Iron Fist
right.
3 fans are out there like yelling at me right now. Yell away. It was just a racist show.
Yeah.
But he was like, yeah, I'm super excited. Anybody in the MCU who's previously appeared is fair game. So he basically, he said he had no current plans, which may or may not be true. There have been rumors of like Jessica Jones appearing in She-Hulk, which would be
that make logical sense.
So excited.
There's some things
right?
with Charlie Cox with Daredevil that's
Right.
and with Spider-Man.
yeah.
there
I
was
saw
a-
that.
There was a casting for a courtroom scene, and Matt Murdock is a lawyer
Mhm.
and has very close ties to Spider-Man,
Mhm.
and he was rumored even before this to be in the movie. And we know that Marvel Studios has full rights to Daredevil now, so yeah, I think
The fact
Yeah.
that he like
think it's gonna
name
happen.
checked those 3 characters specifically
And that too.
said they still
He'll be
have
introduced
so many
as a
fans.
lawyer.
Like
basically.
Yeah.
he didn't.
Maybe
he said
for
he
Peter
hadn't got.
Parker.
Yeah,
He said he hadn't got like specific plans yet, which might or may not be true. But I think we can infer that like those 3 characters, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage,
They're coming.
are coming somewhere
coming.
down the line, which
they're
would be great.
coming for sure.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
how Tom Holland keeps getting asked stuff about like Tobey
Elektra.
Maguire and Andrew Garfield,
Elektra, yeah.
and he's just like, nope, I haven't worked with them. They're not in the movie. And it's like, well,
Yeah, well, I think she was told to say that, but
yeah, definitely, yeah, 100%.
yeah. So, I'm gonna say that there's gonna be a big courtroom scene. I assume it's over whatever crimes. I don't know that whatever they're gonna do with Peter, but yeah,
Probably
I think
killing,
Matt Murdock's gonna represent him, and it's gonna be very cool. So that's
All right, we got a couple other items before we wrap this up, right, John?
yes.
A couple more things you guys written down.
I'll go quick. Let's see here. Oh, well, I guess do we want to move into Star Wars? Or I guess there's a couple things on other Marvel projects. There was a picture of the Eternals. There's some like promo pictures of their costumes, which was kind of cool. That came out.
Oh,
this
there
week.
was?
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
look it up. They look pretty cool.
Was-
Apparently the movie, Marvel's like Kevin Feige specifically is really blown away by the movie. Obviously, we really don't know anything about it. Still, no release date, nothing. So, but apparently the movie is really, really good. So, which is a good thing. So,
Wait a minute.
That's
That's not Chris Pine, is it?
no.
No.
No,
Who's the white
it's
guy?
Richard Madden from Game of Thrones. It's Rob Stark.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I was looking at it was like a painting.
Oh, okay.
Now I see.
Yeah,
him.
yeah, they're
okay,
like-
yeah.
They're not
There are
like
2 Game of Thrones actors.
Because for a second
It's
I was like,
Richard
wait a
Madden
minute,
and Kit
Chris
Harington.
Pine in the MCU?
Kit
Yes,
Harington's in
please.
it too, I believe. Yeah. And then there was this Shang-Chi leak with a Lego set that kind of confirms some things. So one of the villains, I don't really know too much about him, but one of them is gonna be the Death Dealer. There was a picture of what he's gonna look like in the movie. There's like a little promo picture on the side of the box art. And also there's a dragon. I don't know if it's Fing Fang Foom. I don't know if anybody knows who that is.
Yeah, Fin Fang Foom. Yeah,
But
I was
I'm not
looking at my
sure
Marvel
if
cards the
that's
other day. I
who that's
forgot
gonna
about him.
be. But
Isn't he
but-
basically like Godzilla?
yeah, he's just
Yeah.
a giant dragon.
Just a giant like
he's
lizard.
Did
sick.
anybody
Yeah.
see back in the day? There was like a Marvel one-shot video. They did a series of these that were
Yep.
basically like self-contained short films.
The one with the Mandarin.
So there was one with the Mandarin with Ben
Yeah.
Kingsley. It was hilarious because it takes place at the
Great.
same prison where we know Luke Cage was held and experimented on. So
Yeah.
there was like a little inside reference there. Seagate, is that what it is? Seagate prison, but it's a prison that we've seen referenced in Luke Cage. And the Mandarin was there, and then Sam Rockwell was there with like his boyfriend.
Bring Justin
It
Hammer
was-
back.
He was so funny in this little
Bring
short
him
film,
back,
but they
please.
had this thing of like this guy comes in who's supposed to be a reporter and wants to interview the Mandarin about like his acting experiences, and they got some like great comic moments out of Ben Kingsley, like one of
Yeah.
our greatest living actors. But then the end of it was that he actually is like a member of the Ten Rings, and his boss is angry that the Mandarin pretended to be him. His boss is angry that like the Mandarin impersonated him, and he wants to meet him. And
There is a
it was
real
just like-
Mandarin out there.
yeah,
Mhm.
that there's a real
Yeah.
Mandarin out there, and it was one of those one shots that like you either saw it or you can find it on YouTube. and
It's
again,
really
you just-
good. Definitely watch it.
Really,
That's one
good.
of the best ones, I think.
Yeah.
But it's
I know
like
the Mandarin's rings are up there with like the famous MCU weapons
Yeah.
amongst like Punisher's arsenal and like the Infinity Gauntlet and the Mr. Fantastic's nullifier.
Yep.
There's like a short list of like really famous weapons, and I know that's
Yeah, no.
the Mandarin's rings are
sick. Mandarin is a very, very cool character.
yeah.
I cannot wait till that's
But-
explored.
Yeah.
With the Lego thing, I have seen some convincing fake sets. I was convinced
that
Boba
one's
Fett was
real.
going to be in Rogue One. So
No, this one's real. But
I am looking at it now, and it does look very real.
Yeah. So another thing, there's this like tiny thing that there might be a Craven movie. I think Sony's developing a Craven movie. And they've asked a bunch of actors, and they've all kind of declined. So, and they recently asked Carl Urban, who's been in The Boys,
It's a
and
great
he
show.
was fan casted a lot. So he might be in it. He might be Craven. So that's a potential. But that was just one thing I thought I'd mention.
Isn't Cable gonna be in Deadpool 3?
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, this is really funny because in the previous film, it was Josh Brolin, who
Yeah.
obviously we know is Thanos, but then like Thanos was just CGI. We've heard Brolin's voice, we've never seen his face. So like, could they
Yeah.
use
Like,
him
and
in
Catherine
I'd be
Hahn
fine
was
with that.
Dr. Octopus, so
Right, like
Yeah.
he's so good.
Although
It
that's
was
not
like
great to
technically
see
MCU.
him.
Yeah, I think it'll be Josh Brolin. If there's a Cable in the MCU, it's going to be that one. So
That'd be
Oh,
great.
also they confirmed that Deadpool is going to remain R-rated. And
Yep.
that's going to remain their like
Thank God.
one.
yeah,
I know, thank God.
God.
But like they did confirm that that's going to be like their one R-rated property moving forward.
yeah. And then
What
there's
about although wait a minute, what about Venom? I know
Venom was not R-rated, so it was PG-13, which is surprising because there was some language in that film.
right.
It was PG-13, and they did that specifically. Mike and I just watched
Uh-oh.
Venom like last week over at his house, and I was like, Googling it at the time, and apparently they were inclined to rate it R, but then they rated it PG-13 so that they could leave open the possibility of him appearing in Spider-Man in the future.
Oh, okay.
Because
Yeah,
if like
'cause
the
they- like,
prequel
Venom
movie
is, like,
R,
100%.
then they can't have like
Speaking
an
of that,
R-rated
where's the
character in a
trailer
kids
for-
movie.
Yeah.
So that was like something that was a strategic choice so that they could leave the possibility of future appearances open for him, which I would love. That movie was so funny.
I loved Venom. It was
So
great.
funny.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm on a
That
different
was
boat.
yeah, Dylan.
Oh, you didn't like it, huh?
I didn't like Venom.
I
No.
thought it was hilarious.
I'm down to add him to the MCU.
I like
'cause
Tom Hardy. But
Yeah.
It's
Tom
way
Hardy
better
was
than
really
the.
funny.
It's way
Yeah,
better than
I got
the
such,
Spider-Man
like-
3 version of Venom, the one with.
I don't
what's
know,
his
dude.
name?
I grew up with that. Watch what
I
you're
don't know
watch
if
what
I
you're
even agree
saying
with
there.
that. I don't even
With
know.
I got
what's his
such
face
like
from
Edgar
that
vibes
70s
off of
show.
him.
But
My like reaction to him, I hadn't actually seen it before, and Mike was like, "Oh, you have to watch it." So we watched it, and I don't know, I'm kind of like lukewarm on Tom Hardy most of the time, but I thought he was so funny, and I got like the vibes of Edgar from Men in Black.
Yeah.
Well, was Edgar like the sort of oversized alien that was like smooshed into Vincent D'Onofrio's body, and that's the way I felt about like Venom inhabiting Tom Hardy. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good.
All right, we have a few minutes left, so let's try and wrap up what we're talking about. And if we have, I know we had a couple of Star Wars things, and that's Jenny doesn't
All right.
always.
I'll do quick.
Yeah, because there's some Star Wars news for
We
sure.
got a Bad Batch release date.
Finally,
We have been waiting so long for this. I'm so hyped.
no.
It's the
So
first
Bad
week in
Batch-
May, right?
So yeah, the first episode of Bad Batch will be on May 4th, Star Wars Day. So that's perfect.
And we don't know how many episodes yet, right? We're assuming it's 10
no,
to 12,
I'm guessing it's
8 to 12.
Yeah.
Might even
I'm
be
hoping
8,
for
right?
22, but 12 is
22 is the dream, but 12
Clone
is
Wars
more
season
likely.
7 was 12, right? It was
Right.
4,
Yeah.
4, and 4. Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
So they might follow the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
three separate arcs probably, right?
I wonder if they're gonna do arcs. I'm still iffy on that, just because I mean we don't really know where the story's gonna go.
I mean,
but
how much is this Filoni again? Is Filoni?
yes, yeah,
at
yeah,
the helm?
Filoni.
Yeah, so-
Yep,
Filoni.
yep.
Yeah, we trust Filoni. He knows what he's doing. He does it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't the hugest fan of the middle arc, the sisters arc in
The-
season
No one
7.
was. No one was.
Yeah, no one was. So I mean, there's always potential. I mean,
That wasn't
this is-
necessarily his fault though, because
and
they
I
had
liked
some other
I liked the
writers.
Bad Batch arc, but I was honestly kind of surprised that they gave him an entire animated show, just for those characters. So I'm wondering how much of
Well,
those
Yeah, we'll
is
see
that
a lot
particular
of returning.
group
We'll
of
see a lot
clones
of returning.
gonna.
Don't you worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The show is titled Bad Batch, so you can only assume that they're the center of most
They
of the
are,
plot.
but
Yeah.
we're gonna see everybody we know and love. Don't
Yeah.
you
Well,
worry.
I think we're gonna get a lot. Like
And we're
they're gonna
gonna
make us
have-
love these characters. I think.
So, like, at the end of Clone Wars Season 7, the last shot is Darth Vader on that planet
Right.
dropping Ahsoka's saber. Are we going to have more Clone Wars Darth Vader now? Is he
There's
going
they
Tarkin.
made a whole entire model. They're not gonna use it once.
Yes, yes.
Let me just say
Assets are expensive. And they need,
yes.
Well,
So,
Very
also,
true.
I feel like where Tarkin is, Vader is.
right,
a
he's
lot
not
of the
too
time.
far behind.
So he's never too far behind.
We saw Tarkin in
so.
the trailer, so I think that's a pretty safe bet. Yeah, there's, I mean, Ahsoka, Cody, Wolf, Rex. Who knows?
yeah, well,
anyways,
and Echo became part of the Bad Batch.
Right.
In that, so we know
Yeah.
he's, yeah.
cannot wait to see him
Yeah.
again. Yeah,
Should be fun. Okay. And then the last piece of news is, was
the
there
second
something else?
episode will be May 7th, so
Oh,
we'll
okay.
have 2 episodes in 1 week. And then
All right,
yeah,
so wait a
that's
minute.
the biggest
Falcon
thing.
Winter Soldier is only 6 episodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is that
it
going to
6?
be
Okay?
is that going to be 6 weeks then starting is that the first week in March?
No, March.
No, because WandaVision is still
Mm.
at least one more week to go, which is the first week of March.
Cuz I'm in my mind I'm trying to figure out
If
what's
there's
the
a week
sequence here.
break-
We're going to have Falcon and Winter Soldier and then is there anything between that and Bad Batch? What comes after Falcon and Winter Soldier for the MCU slate this year?
Loki, right?
Loki,
Black Widow's in
Loki, I think,
May.
in- Black Widow in May,
was
and then
in
Loki
May.
in June.
Maybe.
June.
We'll
Black
see what
Widow is a
happens with
movie
Black
though,
Widow.
We're
right?
gonna
That's,
get. We are gonna get. I think there's gonna be some Marvel and Star Wars crossover. By the way.
You know, I'm honestly not that hyped thinking about Black Widow, considering we already know.
It's
the same.
kind of.
It's not like Loki, where it's like, oh, I thought he died because we just said like,
Right.
he
Yeah.
could be still alive. Like Black Widow is definitively dead.
It's definitely.
Well, we've
lost
had
its
this movie
hype.
in the.
Yeah.
Which for me is kind of similar to the Cassian Andor thing, where it's like, how excited can I really be about a character that I know dies?
Well,
You
on
know.
the other hand,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously in the MCU there is continuity, and we do, we can track the progress of these characters, but at the same time, this is something that happens in comics where like characters get killed off and then come back in another storyline, and so the characters kind of exist in the ether as archetypes. So by that same right, this is just another sort of, it's an origin story, and when we did this with the X-Men, like we got origin stories out of them. My impression is that it's an origin story, and it's about like how she was trained, how she became an assassin. And we can look at that as like a self-contained.
Yeah, I'm not saying I wouldn't enjoy it. I think it's
storyline,
mostly just me. It's not going to bring anything new necessarily.
Right.
It's just going to be a cool, like, enjoyable. Yeah, you'll get to see her kick some more ass. But
Yeah,
I feel like the more we move
it's not going to
forward
blow
with
my
it-
mind
Great.
with some sort of The
stunts are going to be amazing. Like,
I mean,
Yeah,
there's
for
a
sure.
lot. There's a good amount of things that are supposed to happen. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is supposed to be in it. So
No.
yeah, that was kind of confirmed a long time ago. But I mean, we've been waiting for this movie for the longest time. I mean, like, come on, it's crazy. So, I think some of the hype has kind of dropped off for sure. I'm excited to see what they do with Taskmaster though, because he's a very, very cool character.
Yeah.
Also, a little confused on the timeline because it seems like they're jumping a lot, which is I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but that and Eternals too, which Eternals we know absolutely nothing
You think you're
about.
confused now? Wait till we start introducing multiverse. Like, it's gonna
Wait
be
till the
Oh, I know.
multiverse.
Which
That's
way
so
is up?
fun.
Yeah.
I'm especially excited for Eternals. That's the one that I've been looking forward to.
It seems like it has a lot of potential,
forever.
and do you know much about? I really don't know much about them at all.
No, I mean, I think we talked a bit last week about like rumors that I've read, but I think at this point they're just rumors. They're just people like saying what they'd like to see, or I had heard. I mentioned last week I had heard this one theory that it might tell us like more about the Celestials, and somebody had said,
I'd
"What if
imagine.
we find out how Nowhere lost his head?" Which I don't know if anybody, I don't even know who said that. I read it somewhere on the internet and I was like, that would be awesome. That's something I would love to see.
Mhm.
But I don't know if there's any basis for that, or if that was just somebody wildly.
It's actually something that confused me in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was Ego sort of like implying that he was like alone in the universe to begin with, and what about Nowhere? What were the other
Right, there are
Celestials? Were there
other
other
Celestials
floating
besides
brains up?
Ego.
Yeah. So it would be
Maybe
interesting
that's
to hear
just
more
because
about
Ego
that.
has a giant ego and he thinks
Yeah.
he's the
Yeah,
only
yeah,
one who
yeah.
counts.
That's
I
where I was
mean,
going
maybe
with
it's that
that,
simple.
yeah.
He's like, nobody but me is important.
Mhm.
But we know that the Eternals were created by the Celestials, and that they are eternal. They've been around. They live amongst us.
Because will Peter Quill's association with that come back into play at some point?
I haven't heard much in terms of story. I've heard speculation, but the cast is amazing.
Yeah, they got a big cast.
Big cast and like 2 Game of Thrones actors.
Right.
And like just
Excited
awesome
to see
people.
the Black Knight, Kit Harington.
Yeah, there's just so much that I'm like excited to see. The costumes look great from the photos this week.
Yeah, they looked pretty
I've
cool.
been like, there's a lot of mystery around it, but I like that. Just as there was a lot of mystery around WandaVision. Like I'm really excited to
and
be
I mean,
perplexed.
not to bring it to Star Wars, but I mean, like, we had some leaks with Mando, but I mean, there were still some surprises that nobody had any idea of, and that was a really good feeling once we watched that for the first time. Obviously referencing Luke and everything. So, I'm someone who looks for the leaks too. I gotta stop doing that, but that's me. But yeah, I feel like they are getting better, even better, like than before with hiding stuff. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I usually look for leaks before the show comes out, but while the
Right.
show's going on and something labels itself as a leak, I would turn my head.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
I still make.
Or I try to.
You're
as
a
much as I
noble
can.
man, Dylan.
Yeah, you gotta be
Hard.
careful. I mean, because pretty much every leak that came out about Rise of Skywalker, like months and months ahead, ended up being true.
Yeah.
So I mean, that whole movie was spoiled for a lot of people ahead of time.
Yeah, the whole script came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All
Bummer.
right.
Why do you watch? If like that's what you're trying to do, like why are you even interested in the movie in the first? That's so weird. Like, don't you see the movie to be surprised and delighted?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a
Yeah.
whole ecosystem on YouTube of people that want to
Well,
consume that and people that
right.
can monetize that easily. And
Yeah.
it's a whole culture and ecosystem.
I have been
It's-
tempted with Rise of Skywalker. I was always tempted to go read like
yeah.
some of the stuff.
And
be
I
like, well,
actually had
maybe I'll just get a
started
little
this channel
tease.
like not like kind of like in anticipation of like that movie and Mandalorian coming out. So like a lot of my early videos on this channel were me like reacting to like leak videos and like
Oh,
you know,
okay.
or just like talking about that stuff too. So
Yeah.
people have an appetite for it.
No.
All right.
Sure.
We're going to wrap this up. It's been about an hour and 15 minutes, so we're going to call it a day. WandaVision is awesome. We're anticipating next week highly.
Big.
I think there's a lot of different things that could happen, a lot of possibilities. We have yet to know whether or not it's going to be an hour or more, whether we're going to have a 10th episode, a secret episode, who knows. But I think they've delivered on multiple levels with this show, and we've all enjoyed it very much. So I think whatever they do is going to be worth our while. And I'm looking
for
forward
sure.
to it. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, guys. So if you haven't been over, if you guys are still here in the chat, you haven't been over to All New Nerds, go check out Jon and Dylan's channel, All New Nerds, here on YouTube. They also have Instagram. Do a lot of great videos, a lot of reactions. And I'm enjoying having you guys doing some live stuff every week. We have
Yeah, we've been
some
loving it.
fun stuff to talk about.
A
So
lot of fun.
go over to All New Nerds, check them out. Jenny, thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys.
I know you have fans on this channel, so it's much appreciated when you come on. All right, guys. So we're gonna call it a day.
All right. See you,
Everybody.
man. Thanks
Bye,
for
Have a good one,
hosting.
guys. See you next
Thank
week.
you.
See you next week.
Bye.